8:52 in the morning. I told 25th, 25th, 25th. Buenos dias, hola, buenos dias, good morning, good afternoon, Yanu, Bunu, Yanu, Yanu, Yani, Yano, Yanku. Okay. First thing for my first message to the unofficial president of the United States, Joe Biden. I mean Joe Biden. So we're gonna talk about the policing of our nation and the abuse of power our law enforcement has in this nation. In a nation where we should be protected. These men and women in law enforcement swore in as the law enforcement to protect and serve each and one of us, each and one of citizens, no matter who we are, no matter where we come from, no matter what socioeconomic background, what ethnicity, what demographic, if we have a home, if we don't have a home, if we have food, if we have no food, they're supposed to protect and serve us every single day. And they're not supposed to abuse us. First thing I wanted to bring up body cams. They said they came up with a great idea of body cams, which was for um p- um um avoid police brutality. You know what I'm saying? Sorry. To avoid police brutality, that's an abuse tactic. They have used that over 10 times on me with the police camera to kick me out of places. And they turn on their camera and like two RoboCops and they escort you out somewhere with the camera. When you just want to take the gun and shoot them. The body cams are the biggest abuse to the people and citizens of our nation. To the people that are the most vulnerable population in our nation. This is not the right way, Joe Biden. Body cams should be eliminated from law enforcement. Body cams are the biggest abuse system the policemen, men and women have in our nation. All right. If George Floyd didn't have a body cam on George Floyd, George Floyd would have survived. George Floyd would have defended himself. But that body cam intimidated George Floyd, and George Floyd died. All right, so first we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna be really quick. The misconduct records, which should be available to the public at any single time, and without a discovery report or anything from our attorneys. Of public records for each state are mostly restricted. In Alabama, they're restricted. No one can get a hold of police misconduct reports. These are police misconduct reports I'm talking about. Alaska, they're not available. They mostly closed. In Arizona, excuse me. In Arizona, they mostly public. Arkansas, they mostly closed. California, they're restricted. Colorado, they restricted. Connecticut, restricted. Washington, D.C., closed. Delaware, closed. Florida, mostly public. Georgia, mostly public. Hawaii, closed. Idaho, closed. Illinois, mostly public. This is from the Associated Press. Illinois, mostly public. Indiana, restricted. Iowa, mostly closed. Kansas, mostly closed. Kentucky, restricted. Louisiana, mostly public. Maine, restricted. Maryland, mostly public. Massachusetts, mostly public. Minnesota, mostly public. Mississippi, mostly closed. Missouri, mostly restricted. Montana, mostly closed. Nebraska, mostly closed. Nevada, restricted. New Hampshire, restricted. New Jersey, restricted. New Mexico, restricted. New York used to be public, now it's closed. North Carolina, mostly closed. North Dakota, mostly public. Ohio, mostly public. Oklahoma, mostly public. Oregon, mostly closed. Pennsylvania, closed. Rhode Island, mostly closed. South Carolina, restricted. South Dakota, mostly closed. Tennessee, public. Texas, restricted, depending on the city. Utah, restricted. Vermont, public. Virginia, closed. Washington, mostly public. West Virginia, restricted. Wisconsin, mostly public. Wyoming, mostly closed. So the next facts we're gonna come on. We should always disclose our police misconduct reports because I'm sure there's 80% more than it should be, and they fail to file these reports to police because you have to file them in law enforcement, and those people protect each other no matter what. Little boys and little girls in blue protect themselves more than you think they do. They're the little boys in blue, or the pretty boys in pink. Because if they keep on, I'll make them dressed in pink with no guns and no badge. You guys are abusive. You guys are very abusive all over the nation and all over our country. In every state, every city, every municipality, every district, you guys need to be more comprehensible. You guys need to be more compassionate, more understanding. You guys need to listen. You have ears. Listen. Shut your mouth up and listen before you take action. You guys are too authoritative. And authority, it doesn't work the way you guys think it works. All right. The average that we in 2017 that we were spending for police um, for public policing was $340 per capita, which capita means per person. $340 only per person for police and corrections. And this DC is one of the highest at $1,300 per capita that we pay per person for cops. $1,000 in Alaska, which is one of the highest per capita per person. Kentucky is $390 per person. And then Florida spends 7.3% of their budget yearly on policing and corrections. Nevada spends 7.1%. Then we're going to talk about expenditures, which include the spending on police, sheriff, and state highway and public safety altogether. So here, Democrats have spent 39% more per capita per person on policing than the Republican states have, and the districts. The norm should be of spending a yearly at 4.9% to 5.5% every year on policing on your on local government budget on each state. So number 10, Idaho spends 576 per capita per person for policing and corrections. It's a 6.2% budget. They over. The expenditure they have is $1 billion. In Delaware, it's $774 per capita, 5.7%, a little over. $800 million in expenditures. New Mexico, $759 per capita, 5.7% in the spending budget, 1.6 billion in expenditures. Alaska, $1,030 per capita. Why Alaska, $1,030 per capita? A 5% budget, spending budget yearly. $800 million expenditures. And I didn't write this straight. Washington D.C. $1,337 per capita, 4% spending budget, which is under 900 million expenditures. California $981 per capita, 5.7% but spending budget. Expenditures of $38.8 billion a year. Democrats say Maryland is 842 per capita, 6.3 billion, 5.1 billion in expenditures. Nevada is 756 per capita, a 7% spending a year at a $2.3 billion of expenditures. And Florida is at 704 per capita, at 7.3% of $15.1 billion expenditure. The least ones that spend is Kentucky, Iowa, Maine, Indiana, South Carolina, Mississippi, Utah, Hawaii, Arkansas, and Massachusetts. So about it, a lot of money is going to policing. We need to cut down a lot of forces from 15 to 40%. It's overbearing. We don't feel protected. We don't feel protected and served by our law enforcement, by the men in blue, the women in blue. They're the little boys in blue. They're your puppets now. They're not our puppets. So I'm asking, Black Lives Matter, to please, 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 please try and organize a protest, a peaceful protest, because we're peaceful protesters in Washington, D.C., against police enforcement, against the injustices of we're facing in our country, the discrimination, the prejudice, and the racism that we are experiencing every single day in our nation. We're not respected. They're not allocating our rights. They're not giving us our freedom of speech, our freedom of religions, our right to protect one another. They're not giving us what we deserve, what we are worth. So please, we need a big protest in Washington, D.C. to remove Joe Biden from the White House. He's not the man we thought he would be. He's not the man that we thought dedicated so many years to Congress and the state Senate floor and came and is our Messiah. He's not our Messiah. This same thing happened in Puerto Rico. But at least minor effect for a phone call. And the whole nation of Puerto Rico, the whole country of Puerto Rico came together in front of the fortress of the governor's home to remove the governor of Puerto Rico. And he had no choice to leave because the people asked him to leave. So we need to ask Joe Biden to leave. Please, 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 I beg you. Let's go to Washington D.C. and ask Joe Biden to leave the White House. And no matter how many days we have to stand in front of the house, because he's a stubborn, stubborn, stubborn old man and a racist old man. Trust me, he's a very racist. He loves saying that, and he throws that N word around like there's no other day. Take care and have a great day. God bless America.